Welcome back to Strings. Welcome back to Strings and Stories. I'm your host, Tom Quiet. We're sitting here with our featured guest, Kat Greta. How's it going today, Kat?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. I'm excited to have you back. It's been a little over a year. We first met during the Pan Can fundraiser that I did last year. And we were talking a little bit before we jumped on here about the unusual circumstance in which you were coming to us from last time we met. I think you were working, if I'm not mistaken.
I was at work at the time. That's right. I was baking some cakes.
Yeah,
I had you in front of me and I had the oven with the cakes behind me.
yeah. I just remember because I think you'd kind of warned me about that, and I was like, it's a fundraiser, we'll be good. And then it was just a very memorable moment. So
Funny, yeah. And I was just telling you about the other distractions I might have today. Hey.
it's all good. It's all good. But excited to catch up with you. It's been a little under a year. For everybody that's just kind of meeting you for the first time, because Strings and Stories has a completely different audience than our podcast. Kind of take a second to introduce yourself, what got you into music, stuff of that nature.
Yeah, cool. I've been into music really my whole life. I grew up playing drums and piano. So my parents were awesome in that they gave me a lot of lessons growing up. And then it wasn't really until, say, 2 years ago that I got into songwriting. So before that, I enrolled in classical piano and orchestral percussion at university, and it wasn't quite the right fit for me. So then, I got into songwriting, and I've just never looked back.
Nice. What was it about songwriting that kind of spoke to you?
I think it's the fact that I can be really vulnerable and express myself, like the deepest part of myself,
Mhm.
whereas the other instruments maybe yeah, they're very expressive in the performance and what have you, but lyrically I can speak more and play around a bit more there.
For sure, for sure. That makes complete sense. So you when did you say you started like writing music? Was that during school or was that a couple of years ago?
Well, oh yeah, I'd sort of messed around in school, nothing too serious,
Yeah.
just had a few joke projects. I did some comedy songs, just yeah. And then after that, yeah, like not until about 2 years ago that I thought, no, I think I want to give this a real crack. It's just something that's deep in my gut that I've always wanted to do. And if not now, then when am I going to get the chance to do it? I think what really sparked that in me was the fact that both my parents are quite unwell, and just seeing their health decline really hit home for me that you don't just have all the time in the world. If you've got a dream, you've got to do it. You've got to live in the moment and do what you can.
For sure, for sure. So we can't just gloss over the comedy music that you brought up.
Oh, no.
Like, were you writing like parody songs, or were you just like it was just like funny, quirky songs?
Parody songs, lots of crude humor, stuff basically that they would never imagine of us at a private all-girls school. So, I got together with a buddy of mine, and we were in year 11 and year 12, and after school we were meant to study, but instead of that we were writing these really rude songs and just laughing laughing and laughing, and then we performed it in front of our friends at lunchtime, and they loved it. And of course, I just the encouragement just made us write more. And then in the end, some other kids who we weren't mates with necessarily came up to us and said, oh, we heard about your songs, do you mind performing them for us? So we got together and did that, and then it just grew until we got the chance to perform them in assembly.
Nice.
Which I cannot believe we got away with doing it, but we did.
Nice.
And teachers came up saying, oh, I can't believe you just said that, but you did, and good on you. And then we performed them at the Year 12 valedictory with all of the parents.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the jumping off point to everything that you're doing now.
Yeah, I suppose that sort of sparked a fire in me.
Yeah.
That had fun with that.
Yeah.
And had to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I understand the thought that it's like the parody songs, you might grow out of them, but then again, like somebody like Weird Al has made a killing doing that his entire life. Like that's what he's done. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it's like, I understand wanting to write your own music and kind of start expressing your own feelings and getting your own creative opinion out there. So with that kind of in your past now, and then making the transition, that's the word I'm looking for, making that transition to like writing your own music. What's kind of been the journey like for you there? Because I know when we talked previously, you mentioned that the song that you just released is more of a pop song. What's kind of that journey to find your sound been like for you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So my EP was very much rock. It had some elements of pop in there, but I was playing around more with the rock production at that stage. And but little did I know really at the time that when I first wrote the song on the piano, it really was a pop song. So I'm thinking now, wouldn't it be interesting to go back to the EP and do a remix and see what that sounds like as a pop, as a pop EP.
Yeah.
But so this latest song, I didn't initially set out for it to be a pop song specifically, but making each decision, it turned out to be very much a pop song.
With the new single in the works, it's going to be out here in the next couple of weeks. What's kind of the story behind this project?
So, Season to Believe, the actual meaning behind the song didn't come to me until after all of the chords and the melody were written. And it's interesting because when I write, it tends to be from my subconscious, and it's a message that speaks to me afterwards. So looking back, and the lyrics as well, I noticed that it's about believing in myself. So in my EP, you probably remember that I didn't sing in the EP, and I've had this, I don't know, I've had this lack of confidence in my voice for a long time. It wasn't until recently that I thought, no, it's my story. Like, it's my song, it's my story. I need to get over that fear,
Yeah.
and gain the confidence. So that's what it's about, really.
Gotcha. What was that tipping point for you that you kind of made that decision that you needed to be the one singing? What was kind of that tipping point?
I think during my performances, I would be playing the drums and I felt like I just had more to give. I couldn't explain it at the time, but I really wanted to just get up and grab the microphone and sing myself. And I think it was just a slow realization. And it wasn't until I had that opportunity to be on stage and start singing my own songs and getting other people's feedback, saying, why don't you sing? And I would always come back with, well, I can't sing. So, yeah, I really had to look at why I was thinking these things and So I've done a lot of inner work with that and my self-confidence, and finally, yeah, like in the song it says season, it's called Season to Believe. So it's just about
Yeah.
finally the time for me to believe in my, yeah.
Yeah. So how does it feel to have this newfound freedom to express yourself through singing?
Yeah, really liberating. It really is, because I'm getting to truly express myself. I really, I've worked through a lot of inner struggles, and noticed that now as a singer songwriter, it's such a vulnerable place to be in, and for me it's the most pure form of expression. So I'm really glad to have gone through that, and this whole journey to get here, and realize how important it is to me.
Do you find that it's easier to write music now that knowing that it's going to be your voice singing it, or is it kind of the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing my range, knowing my timbre, what I sound like, and what instruments would sound, go along well with my voice. It's a lot easier to write, because sitting down at the piano, writing a melody, not knowing whether there's going to be a male vocal or a female vocal.
Mhm.
Uh, in the end, I want the vocals to be the number one thing to focus on, and then everything else is supporting it.
Mhm.
So it is easier for me now.
Nice, nice. It's always kind of interesting to kind of dive in a little bit on that, when especially when you go from being specifically a songwriter, and yes, you're playing your music to a degree, but you're not singing your own music, to
Yeah.
deciding that you're going to make that transition to actually start singing your music, watching that transition of how much more authentic that music becomes because you're writing it
Yes.
for yourself, from yourself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's totally different. And I'm loving the journey, learning so much about myself. And it's a never ending journey,
Mhm.
really. So it's exciting. Yeah, this latest single, like you said, it's probably the most authentic expression of my art so far.
Yeah, for sure. Um, because as you've kind of gone through I'm going to call it the process of kind of figuring out what kind of musician you wanted to be, first experimenting with a more rock sound and then kind of naturally progressing into like pop music. Who have you been listening to? Who have been some of your influences?
I've been influenced by a lot of artists, but mainly artists from the 70s and 60s. So listening to a lot of Fleetwood Mac, for example, the Carpenters.
Mm,
I love the melodies, and basically, yeah, generally the melodies and chord progressions of that time in
mhm,
age. Uh, so so focusing on that, but also wanting to turn it into my own style, and a modern version of that, whatever that is, and trying not to be influenced too much by what is popular, what's being played on the radio. I am trying to just express myself without any barriers. So that in itself, I suppose, is a bit of a risk. But
sure.
yeah, that's what I've tried to do with this song.
For sure, for sure. So as you're kind of approaching the release date for this song, you've got a little less than 2 weeks. What's kind of running through your mind right now as we approach the final stages here?
Well, I am happy with the song. So all I can do really is, well, besides all of the admin and interviews and things like that,
Yeah.
I am excited. I'm excited about it, because I will get to release it knowing that it's the very best that I could do with
Mhm.
this song. Um, there was a time that I I had the song. It was what I thought was a finished version of it. And then I got distracted by some of the things that I heard on the radio. I thought, oh, maybe this sound is more in, you know. So went back to the studio and made some tweaks. But when I made those tweaks, it actually made the song sound worse. So go back to my own expression and what I heard step by step to make the finished product, which I'm now happy with.
For sure, for sure. It's one of those things where you were letting it mature, and then you went back to kind of change it because you didn't think that it was going to fit, and that it's all a natural progression, especially when you're kind of experimenting with a new sound and you want people to like it. And it's really hard to ignore those outside influences. Believe me,
Really?
I 100% understand that, where it's like you hear something and it's like, oh, this is what they like. Well, let me see if I
Yeah,
can get this to fit that. And then it
yeah,
just spirals out of control from there.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. So
So,
that's interesting to deal with.
yeah, for sure. Oh, let's take another musical break here really quick, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the new single and everything you got going on for the rest of the. I'm about to say summer, but I guess technically for you it would be summer because you're coming from to us from Australia. So with this new single, are you looking at like a bigger project with it, or are you going to kind of just release it as a single and just kind of see where things go for now?
So I'm going to release it as a single, but I would love to write an album which goes along with this single. So I've got a lot of material that I'm ready to play around with and make a similar type of production to the single. So it really is saying, you know, here's a piece of what I've got, and
Mhm.
going to be more of this to come.
Nice. And do you think this is kind of your what you want your sound to be moving forward, or do you kind of see your sound being ebb and flowing where it's just kind of whatever the mood strikes you?
I think in the short term, it's going to be this kind of sound for sure.
Mhm.
I can't speak what I will do in, say, 10 years' time,
Yeah.
but now this is my most authentic form of songwriting. So I have to follow that. Having said that, though, I am still very much a rock performer.
Yeah.
So when I get on stage, the song will transform into something completely different. So I will get behind the drums sometimes. I will play some keys. And yeah, it's going to be a rock performance. But I think for sonically and production wise, it's going to remain like a pop production.
Mhm. For sure. And that's fair. It's one of those things where you got to kind of mold to what the setting is, because
Yeah.
like it's a pop song, but if it calls to be a little bit more I don't want to say upbeat because that's not the right term, but like a little bit more rocky,
Yeah.
it definitely makes sense. Speaking of like live performances and stuff, what does your current live performance setup look like? Is it you and a backup band, or what does that currently look like?
Yeah, so it's me and a band. So I do the vocals, and a friend of mine is a guitar player and he sings harmonies. There's another drummer as well and a bass player. So you know, I as well as singing, I do love to play some drums
Mm-hmm.
and play the keyboard and percussion. So I like to just move around and do it. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
love to get the audience involved as well because yeah, it's a funny thing at our gigs. The audience end up coming up and they want to have a play of the drums too. So they might grab the sticks and play some toms for a while, or grab the tambourine and play that out in the audience, which I love.
Yeah,
So I want to encourage that. I want to encourage people to play more music.
for sure. For sure. I've always found it very interesting, and like listening or seeing a band perform live where the drummer is also a singer, like either lead singer or backup singer or whatever it is. It's just like all that movement, and then you still got the ability to like sing. It's like, to me, that I could barely comprehend playing the drums by themselves, let alone having to add in a fifth element. You know, you got both your hands going and your feet and all that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
it's pretty
mm,
crazy, isn't it? Think about it.
yeah, for
But
sure. It's just one of those things where it's just like, wow, my brain cannot comprehend any of that right now. So,
yeah,
oh,
it's probably just memory. I don't
right,
know.
right. Um, so, how often are you playing shows right now? Are you playing pretty often, or is it like a few and far between type situation?
Well, it's been a couple of months
Mm,
since we've played last, but we've got a few shows coming up with a single release. So we've
mm,
got a single launch show down in Mornington, which is in Victoria, Australia,
mm.
and then we're going to do a small tour around regional Victoria. So yeah, there's a few shows lined up, which is exciting. I'm going to do a couple with a full band and a couple as a duo.
Nice, nice, really cool. How's the independent scene been doing the last year or so in Australia? Because I've read some articles that you guys are losing music venues pretty aggressively, it seems like.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for sure, and I feel like it needs to be spoken out
Mm,
about even more. So yeah, the live music industry is basically on its knees,
mm,
and uh, we really need the support of people to come along to gigs. And
mm.
yeah, yeah, we'll get through this though. I know it.
Yeah, for sure. I brought it up because about what was it, maybe a month ago or so, we started doing like news update style things on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And read an article about some venues in Australia that were closing down because of insurance issues.
Oh, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I was like, oh, that's not good for the independent scene in general. So yeah, I I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up really quick. So Kat, it's been an absolutely amazing time chatting with you. I'm really glad we got a chance to catch up. It's been really hard to interact with everybody on the Instagram. Like I'm some old guy that doesn't know what Instagram is, but uh but like the last couple of weeks and months or whatnot, we finally reconnected a little bit, and it's been an absolute blast. So I'm excited we got this worked out. For anybody that wants to check out your music, shows, keep up with you on social, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Yep, you can find me on my website. It's catgreta.com, or my Instagram. It's just cat.greta, Facebook, and YouTube.
Awesome, awesome. And then just for funsies, we're gonna call it just for funsies. I have a fun little game
Yeah.
we play. I'm going to break out the random question generator and ask you the first question that pops up.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, here we go. If you could
Yeah.
choose one superpower to help with your job, what would it be and why?
Having an extra nanny attached to myself,
Fair.
because because I have a lot of cute distractions, and just finding the time to write more would be great.
Fair, fair. Speaking of cute distractions, he popped in a little bit ago and put his hand over the phone and said no more.
That's it.
Saw,
Yeah.
it looked like he was trying to put his hand over the phone, and I was like, "Oh, he wants me
Oh,
to end this." So
yeah, he's done, isn't he?
yeah, but
Mummy or
it's been an absolute blast. I always enjoy chatting with you. You're welcome back anytime. So feel free to reach
oh,
out, and we'll have you back on anytime.